What is up, Justin Lofton? Welcome back to the Beyond Homo Sapien podcast. It has been a full month since the last time that you were on the show, and much has changed. The scope, the whole landscape around this coronavirus thing has shifted. Last time you came on, we were talking about how the coronavirus is going to shape our world, what it's going to be doing in the future. And now we are here 1 month later. And on the one hand, it's kind of like, it feels like so much has changed, but on the other hand, it feels like nothing has changed, and I wanted to get your take on, like, where do you think, where are we at right now, and what sorts of opportunities can we be creating going forward?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here and to kind of dive deeper into this topic, because I know a lot of folks are looking to get some clarity on, what has happened, what's happening now, what's going to happen. And I think that's different for everyone, but I think it's also, as a collective, we're facing ourselves. We've had time to isolate and really reflect on life up until this point, and we're looking for sort of some new answers, because the answers that were given to us from the reality up until this point seem to be many false statements and many false paths, and we're starting to realize that through a lot of the disclosure that's coming out these days. And one of the things that really has a presence for me now is really resonating in that resonance of opportunity. And I think that means something different for everyone, but really sort of, going deep with that, taking that statement, saying it to yourself a few times, the resonance of opportunity. What does that mean to me? The resonance of opportunity. Feel it, hear it, see it, touch it, taste it, smell it, right? Like, what does that mean to me? Can I help somebody out? Can I start to do more of the hobbies that I love? Resonating in the things that you really enjoy doing, and the things that give you a lot of energy and resilience in your life that maybe life has distracted you from up until this point. But now that we have this opportunity to reflect on ourselves, reflect on what's happening in the external world as all this stuff is unraveling, and starting to really look at life as an opportunity, and finding those things that bring energy and help you feel good in your life.
That's what I found is, like, if we're talking about manifesting more opportunities or creating more opportunities for yourself, being in that highest vibratory frequency of your zone, your peak optimal thing that you're meant to be doing. So for me, that's writing, is podcasting, is working out, it's doing all the things that I really love to do. And if I'm not doing those things, nothing else ever seems to work. And it's weird. It's almost like the universe pays me to do the things that I love to do, in a sense. So although, for example, I'm working on my first book, and it's almost like if I'm focused more on my digital marketing agency over the book, then the marketing agency does not do very well. But then as soon as I shift my focus back to the book, even though the book has yet to make me any money because I'm not done with it, but if I'm putting in the hours or even just 20 minutes writing the book every day, then the marketing agency is going well. And it's because the book is what my soul is calling me to do. Marketing, I love marketing. I love working with my clients and doing all that stuff, but my soul is calling me to write books. You know what I mean?
You got it.
It's, yeah. Have you experienced similar sorts of things?
No question. I mean, as we talked about last time, I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid, but it wasn't until I truly realized, like, the projects that I want to work on, when I only work on the projects that are really resonating with me and helping people grow their business with my coaching business or in some of my e-commerce businesses, I just got rid of everything that doesn't resonate or make me excited, because, now my work and my businesses, it's not work to me. It's fun. I enjoy it. I just have a blast, and it allows me to do these kind of things where, you and I could talk for hours on this stuff, bringing knowledge to folks about how this works. And just like you said it, I mean, everything is a resonance and a reflection of how you feel at any given moment, the frequency that you're at, right? So when you focus on the things that resonate with your heart space, then everything else will be in alignment. And it's this whole idea that we got caught up in, and even more so for entrepreneurs, is chasing the money. Like the money will come. It's a side effect of the resonance and the value you deliver to your market. So you can force it. What they taught us was to force it. Okay, you just go out there and work hard and sweat, blood, sweat, and tears, and eventually you're just going to make a bunch of money. But that's not the way it actually works. It's all about ease and flow and stepping into that frequency and delivering value to a marketplace, and then exponential abundance comes back to you, Right.
It's the more that you help other people, the more things come back to you. Have you read the book, The Go-Giver?
I haven't, no.
That's a really good one. It talks about, I forget the name of the author off the top of my head, but it's called The Go-Giver. And it's about kind of what we're speaking about, that the traditional way of looking at the world is to be a go-getter, someone who's always going after the money, doing whatever it takes. But really, that when you turn it around and you say, actually, I'm going to ask, how much can I give? How much can I give for free? How much can I do to help other people? That's when things come back around. And that's when you are then rewarded energetically, because you've already made that energetic investment into other people.
Yeah. And I think in general, like the issue with the way that we were taught to, with anything, is like, we assume that if we work hard to get something, then we're going to have happiness. Well, no. The happiness, you should already be happy, and you should already be happy with the things that you have, with the abundance that's already rich in your life. If you think that the abundance is outside of you somewhere else, then that's really the problem, is that you're chasing something that you think at some point in the future, your future projecting your energy, and you're not realizing you actually have everything you need. One of the things that I like to say to folks is, like, when you came into this world, you came in here with nothing and everything, right? You didn't have anything, you didn't have even clothing, right? But you had everything. You had everything you needed. So this old idea of, the materialism and getting all these things, like, those things don't represent who you are.
Right.
They're just external projections of that. So once you realize that, like you said, it's about helping others, then you can enjoy those things. You're not attached to them. You can enjoy the material world. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're not attached to them, and you're not future projecting that you're going to be happy or everything's going to be great if I could just get to this next place in my life. No. You got to realize that you already have everything you need. You should be happy in your skin at this moment. You should be able to see the abundance that's all around you already and say, you know what? It's a blessing that I'm here and I have an opportunity to help others. Now, what ways do I enjoy? What resonates with me so that I can help others and get that feeling that I always love, and I'm sure we all have those. We just have to do a little work to kind of see and feel them. So we're like, yeah, this really, I don't know why, but this thing really resonates with me. Like you said, it might be going to do yoga. It might be going and contributing some time and effort to do something. It might even be, going back to your customer list and reaching out to people because you always resonated with doing that.
Right. And I think you're hitting on something really huge from a perspective of manifestation. And this is something a lot of people miss if they're ever trying to manifest something. It's almost the idea that, you should, if you're trying to receive something, then you're automatically saying to yourself that you don't already have it. Exactly. So instead, it's a better way to go about things where you just reflect on how much you already have and how you are already complete and you are already good to go. And then the universe conspires to then make that happen. So it's not about denying things. It's about really trying to tune into the fact that we are already complete without adding anything. And the more that you believe that, the more that you hold on to this truth that you already have all the answers inside, you already have all the money you could ever need, you already have all the resources that you need, then it will be so.
Exactly. No, and I think that that speaks to, in the spiritual world, you know, a lot of people will even greet you with the word wholeness, right?
Mm.
Wholeness, wholeness, wholeness. And when you realize that you're already whole and complete, just like you said, you're whole and complete at all in any given now moment, then you can realize that, okay, well, I actually have everything I ever wanted. I just didn't realize it. And now I just need to manifest it into the physical realm, into the physical reality. Okay, well, what compassionate action, that's a phrase that I like to use, what compassionate action do I need to take to actually turn what I already have into a materialistic thing that I can, manifest into the physical reality, because everything already exists in the metaphysical reality, right?
Right.
But I've got to take, I got to go contact people. I got to go leave the house. I got to go do all these things in the physical realm to actually manifest that, that intention in the physical realm. The physical realm takes a little time from your thoughts and your energy or emotion, energy and motion to actually manifest that. That window of time is shortening. And that's what's so beautiful about this time right now, is that the energy that's here on earth, it allows us to kind of move into that when we're in that higher frequency resonation. It allows us to manifest a lot quicker. Whereas in the past, we've had some really heavy energies here on earth that made it very difficult. I mean, people spend their careers like building it up and building up to where, okay, they're 40 or 50 years old. They're finally manifesting the abundance that they've been working for decades. That's, I mean, literally for some people that are really in that higher energy and resonating and understanding this whole process, they're manifesting within days and weeks and months, as opposed to having to spend years or decades to manifest the things that they really want in their life.
So I wanted to ask you about this. How do you manifest in your life? Do you have a particular practice? Do you have a particular way that you go about manifesting whatever it is that you are looking to create in your world?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we sort of said it, but I'll give you sort of, more of a specific in my own world, the things that I do. Like right now, I'm kind of in a limbo process where at the end of March, I had one of my lease where I was staying came up, and I was going to move from California to Costa Rica. Well, then
Awesome.
then the pandemic happened. Everybody closed their borders. Fortunately, I had a friend who had a condo in Vegas that she wasn't using. Nobody was there. So I'm in a condo in Vegas. It's beautiful here, even with 40 million less people here in Vegas. And I've just been kind of hanging out because I'm waiting for the border to open on May 15th. And I have a flight on June 2nd. But it was, I had a flight at April 3rd when I was supposed to leave California. That got pushed. And, so I just ease and flow, baby. I just ease and flow. Everything is about ease and flow. And I'm seeing every change in the environment as an opportunity, right? I'm resonating in opportunity. So I'm seeing it as an opportunity to work on myself. So I do a lot of balance, right? Just like you said, hey, I'm doing this, I'm writing my book, I'm exercising, I'm doing the things that I love. I'm very much about that, because what I find is that when I actually sit down to do what most people call work, I'm just like on fire, man. It's like you and I talking right now. Like I'm just like blazing through it. It's easy peasy. I do my yoga. I'm out sun gazing, sunbathing, eating clean food. Man, I am just buzzing at every level. So when I sit down to do quote unquote work, I'm just having a blast at it. And so that's kind of how I manifest. And again, it's a simple statement that I think is at the core of it all, is I put my attention on my intention all the time. And so if I intend to hold that balance and keep working on my own frequency, my energy levels, then I'm going to put my attention on eating clean. I'm going to put my intention on making sure I get in the sun every day. I'm going to make sure that I put my attention on doing the yoga, because it makes me feel so good. And I have a clear intention to keep my energy levels and my frequency as high as possible, because that just makes it so much easier for me to manifest in the reality. And I have a lot of fun doing it.
I had a dream last night that I think correlates with what you're saying. I've been studying and thinking about a lot lately this idea of the principle of correspondence from
Mm-hmm.
Hermetic philosophy, the idea of as above, so below,
Mm-hmm.
as within, so without. This idea that whatever that our internal world is a manifestation, or our internal world manifests the outer world,
Sure.
essentially. And then
Absolutely.
that the lower planes of reality are also the same, the higher planes of reality. So it goes both inwards and outwards, but also up and down.
Sure.
So I've been thinking about this a lot and studying it
Good.
for really the last year or so, or a couple of years. But last night I had a really interesting dream, and I feel like, I don't know, does this ever happen to you where you feel like you get instructions or guidance through dreams?
No question. Yeah.
I had one of those last night where it was like I was on a walk in my dream, walking through a town, and over and over again this voice just kept saying, as within, so without. And as I walked through this city, the whole town would start coming alive with life. And it was like a decrepit, rundown, village or something, and then it would bloom up, and the trees would sprout, and then buildings would spring up into stuff just because I was walking through. And then at the end of the dream, I was walking past this like decaying old bush, and it bloomed into like this massive green hedge. And then out of the hedge came this like green arm as the hedge was growing. And then the arm gave me like a thumbs up. And then I woke up. And this voice just kept saying, as within, so without. And I've been thinking about that all day. And then when you were talking, it clicked for me. It's this idea that the more that you beautify your internal state, your own world, the inner Justin, it's
Mm-hmm.
then magnified out into everything else. So if you're eating clean, if you're doing yoga, if you're getting out into the sun, and yeah, of course, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, and I think that there's some subtleties there in terms of just, people need to get back in touch with Mother Nature because it's actually perfect. We're running around wearing masks, worried about staying 6 feet away from people, which is all pretty ridiculous to me. I understand that there is a virus and that it's not fake or whatever. These things do exist, but the measures and the things that we've been taught to address it are actually complete opposite of what you should be doing. But anyway, I think that the problem is that most of us are pretty detached with nature. We see it separate from us. In reality, when you look outside, there are no birds with viruses. There are no issues are going on in Mother Nature. Somehow it runs perfectly, but us humans are somehow more complex, and we get very detached from what really the world is all about. And by getting into Mother Nature, you can kind of see that beauty and that resonance of opportunity that's in front of us all the time. We just get caught up and distracted into the nonsense of life. And the way that we can stay focused on what we truly want to do in this life is by continuing to stay, connected to Mother Nature, because it's going to tell us everything we need to know.
I love that. It's what you keep getting at over and over again. Like if we're talking about manifesting opportunities or staying in this resonance of opportunity that you're talking about, it sounds a lot like there's not like a specific goal necessarily that you have in mind of like, oh, I'm going to manifest a new client, or oh, I'm going to manifest a new house, or I'm going to manifest this trip to Costa Rica. It's more like you just are trusting that when you maintain yourself internally to this degree that you're describing, that the universe, the world around you will just reflect that back to you.
That's absolutely correct. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with, setting goals and having very specific things. I think that you should do that. I think that in most cases, those types of things were external projections of our energy, thinking that we weren't whole until we got those things. And we were taught that, right? We were taught to continue to chase whatever it is your neighbor has, or whatever it is your fellow entrepreneur has manifested in their life, and all this stuff. It's like, no, that, it's that, like you said, it's about staying in that resonance, and things just start showing up. And the things that you want to show up, and you become the observer, and then allows you to take compassionate action that's more of a response rather than a reaction. You're not reacting to things coming at you and just kind of like doing this, which is what most of us have done most of our lives. All this abundance is coming in, and you're using discernment to say, yeah, I think I like that. That really resonates with me. Let me do more of that. That opportunity is great. Oh, wow, that's cool. Yeah, no, I can support you on that. Like you're just responding to the environment because so much good stuff is showing up, and you're just deciding which road you want to go down, right? As
Yeah.
opposed to constantly reacting to, oh my God, this happened and they just cut me off, and I
Right.
just got this email that said this. And, a lot of us are in reaction mode to life. We're in effect, not in cause, right? Cause and
Right.
effect. Right.
Right, exactly. That's something else, from Hermetic philosophy, the idea that most of the time we're affected by our world, but when you step into this realm of conscious awareness, and if you kind of become the creator of your world actively, and if you step into that role, then suddenly you can become the effect within your domain, in a sense.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of folks that would up until what we've talked about thus far, be like, oh, that's great, guys, and all that sounds great, but I just lost my job, or my business just went under, or whatever. That's the opportunity. Okay, see it as an opportunity. It's like, what is it telling me that my business or my job disappeared? What door is it opening for me to see a new path that maybe will better suit me? So if you can turn any situation into the resonance of opportunity, then it's going to be shown to you, because you're saying, you know what, I'm not going to go react to this situation. I'm going to respond, and I'm going to respond with the emotion of, wow, this could be really good for me. Let's see it that way. Let me see what's going to come to me by accepting the fact that this went on in the external world, and I'm okay with it, because guess what? I have everything. I'm whole. I'm
Hmm.
whole and complete. I have everything. So this is clearly an opportunity for me to expand beyond what I was before, and be a better version of myself, whatever that is.
I absolutely love that. A book I read right before coronavirus, which seemed very aptly timed, was "The Obstacle Is the Way" by Ryan Holiday. Have you read that one?
I haven't.
That's a great book too. But yeah, and that's the idea is that what you're talking about is what all great people have realized, that whenever something bad happens, it's an opportunity. It's not an obstacle. That it's that shifting in belief of saying that not only is an obstacle not unfortunate, but an obstacle is actually a good thing. So if
Mm-hmm.
something bad happens, that's actually time to celebrate, because that's an opportunity. And it's almost like the universe or God or whoever has conspired to put this obstacle in your path, so
Mm-hmm.
that way it can be overcome, because it's actually the opportunity that you're meant to have. And I think that that's what a lot of people don't understand if we're talking about manifestation or creating your reality, is that if you set some sort of intent, if you say that you want something, or if you say that you want to become something or evolve yourself from here to something better, then it probably won't look exactly how you planned, because that's the whole point. Is if you open yourself up to the spirits or the spirit world or higher self or Jesus or whoever you're praying to or whatever, you open yourself up to that force, then the whole point is that you don't have the answers. So if you're trying to fix your life or get a new job or have a business or whatever it might be, you yourself, me sitting here, obviously don't necessarily have all the answers, because otherwise, if I did, then I wouldn't be asking for help. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be asking for spiritual guidance or help. So a way that this has manifested for me in the past is losing my job, things of that variety, where it's like, okay, so you want to have a better life? Okay, well, that looks like first you're going to get fired from your job, stuff like that.
Yep,
And that's what
happens
people
every
don't
day.
realize,
Mm-hmm.
is that that is your manifestation being fulfilled.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of times these types of circumstances, as is all life, it's a reflection of yourself. So what lesson are you learning from what happened? You look inside of yourself to say, why did that happen to me? What energy was I in that manifested that? Because your reality is manifested by the way that you resonate and the way that you feel, or the way that you project. If you think you're separate from the outside world, then the world is going to treat you as separate from even what we talked about, separate from Mother Nature, separate from creation. If you believe that you're separate from another being, another human, another animal, another anything, then, you know, that's a part of the sort of the mind virus that's been going on for so long that all of us got caught up in was, you know, that's not me. You know, that's somebody else. And, you know, we're always judging at some level based on the physical, you know, look and feel and who that person projects themselves at. But it's really just a reflection of ourselves. So when you get into an interaction with somebody and it doesn't turn out the way that you expected, you look at yourself, stop looking at them. It's just actually the reality showing you yourself in a different way so that you can transmute that energy and start resonating at a higher frequency.
When you were first getting introduced to these concepts, did you feel like it was sort of initiation? Like, what was it like when you first had your spiritual awakening or whatever? Because for a lot of people, that's kind of a traumatic time to an extent.
Yeah, and I know that a ton of folks are going through that right now, right? Most of humanity, with a lot of this disclosure and the fact that the mainstream media is all lies, and, you know, all this stuff that they thought was true is just a complete manufactured, you know, scenario that they believed in. This is all happening for so many folks, and, you know, for me, it was, again, I was going down different rabbit holes of truth and unraveling some of that stuff. And you go through these sort of roller coasters of like angry and sad and depressed. And, you know, and you do go through phases of like happiness and, you know, that you're starting to unravel all of this stuff that, you know, you once believed. And now you're like, well, now I question this, I question that. And now you're angry. And that happens when you're still feeling as if you're separate. But the moment it hits you where you say, I manifested this. It was my responsibility, and I consented to all this stuff that they basically made up and lied to us. But the reason when I use the word they actually exist because as a collective consciousness, we consented to it all. We allowed this to play out. You know, it's not my parents' fault. It's not, you know, anybody's fault. It's my responsibility. I take responsibility for every choice that I've made up until this point. And I'm fortunate enough to have realized that this stuff is not true in my life. And now, like, for instance, you know, the stuff that's going on now, I try and help people. I'm like, no, I love Bill Gates because Bill Gates shows me every day who I am not. I love him. He's he's a hurt child who hasn't figured out that the actions he's taking doesn't end up supporting anybody, not even himself, even though he wants to, you know, do all these things for whatever agenda he has. All these people that have done this stuff are simply people that are really like children that have just been hurt, and they externalize this negative energy they have within them. And for so many of us, we've put these people on a pedestal and turned them into idols. We've externalized our own energy, and we've consented to all the things they've been doing that for many of us, we knew it. We knew what was going on in the church. We knew what these nefarious people were doing. And we looked the other way because it hurt too much to face it. Yep. We just wanted to keep going, right? So when we start to see, right, it's a process. I always tell people it's a process, right? You got to purge it out. But a lot of people are being forced to purge all this stuff out right now. And it's a roller coaster. But I think the key is that you need to realize that you had everything you ever needed when you came into this world. And everything in this world is you. And it's how you respond to it is how it projects itself in your particular scenario. The universe is the universe, right? It's the you in your world. It's how you respond to it. It's your choices. And the sooner we take responsibility and we forgive ourselves and everything around us and just say, I forgive you. I forgive Bill Gates. He's a hurt child. I mean, and you're seeing it play out to where enough people are saying, I'm taking responsibility. I'm saying no to that. That's what we need. We need the collective saying, no, finally, instead of just saying, yeah, give me another flu shot because you're in a white coat. Like everybody's saying, no, this doesn't make sense. Let's stand up together. Let's be together because we are one.
Right.
And say no to the things that don't resonate with us anymore. We're not going to do that anymore.
That's the opportunity that we have here with this coronavirus situation. And it's a powerful time. It's a powerful time for people. I think you're right. A lot of people are going through this time of initiation or spiritual awakening or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, what I tell people is, for me, it was kind of like coming into awareness that the world does not work the way that you thought it did. And that's kind of the big epiphany that, that people are having right now, that the laws of reality that I was taught are not true, that they're not correct. And then the next logical question is, okay, so how does it work? If it's not the way that I always thought, then how does it work?
What are the rules of the game? Right?
What are the rules? And for me, that's when I found Hermetic philosophy, and then breaks it down for you. It says, well, now you're ready to know how it works. Put these to the test and see if this resonates with you, as it has for thousands and countless people throughout history. And it's a beautiful teaching. But Hermetic philosophy is just the medium that I found, that I connected with. For other people, it might be, I don't know, it might be the aliens. It might be that you resonate with the idea that you're channeling the Pleiadians or whatever. You know what I mean? And for me, that's never been something that I resonated with. But for some people, they go down that rabbit hole, and maybe that works for them. You know what I mean?
It opens the door, right? It's the thing that opens the door for them. Right.
Something that was really eye-opening for me was moving out here to the Ozarks, because the Ozarks, I don't know if you've ever been out here, it's a very magical place, especially out here in Missouri. Would love to have you come out sometime. If you ever,
please.
A lot of magical folk who gather out, who find themselves out here. A lot of people coming here through dreams. Like, I know several of my good friends who were like, oh yeah, I had a dream where it was in the dream, there was a map and there was an arrow on the map, and it pointed me to where I live right now in the Ozarks. And I live down the street from someone else who had a similar dream. Stuff like that.
Awesome.
I hear that relatively regularly, but the thing that really made me think is even wilder than I thought was there's a lot of Christians out here too. And I started to get to know and talk to some of the Christians, because it's the Bible Belt, it's the heart of Christianity in America. And a lot of the Christians I talk to have the same story, but it's Jesus. Jesus appeared to them in a dream, or God came to them in a dream, and he told them to move out to the Ozarks. And I was like, God, whatever is actually going on is far, clearly it's beyond, it's almost like the universe is like, all right, this guy believes in Jesus. All right, get him out there through Jesus. This guy believes in the Pleiadians. All right, the Pleiadians are going to tell him to go where he needs to go. Whatever and I feel like the real truth is something much more beautiful. And it's kind of what you're getting at, which is that we're all one. We are all united. Unity consciousness is where we're headed.
Yeah, we're all fractals of source that came into the vessel, the body, and these scripts that were given to each of the characters. It's not much different than a game you would play, right? You're trying to get tokens and trying to raise your energy. You're trying to, each character has its own build, the way we look and feel, and that's unique to us. And that is a tool in this game, right? As it is with most players in a game. You have specific skills. That person has skills that others don't, right? Then you pick up different, things throughout the game that help you, treasures and things like that, right? So it's very similar how this plays out. And to your point, that's exactly right. What Source does, Source Energy, God, whatever label you want to put on it, what it does is it looks in your subconscious, and it's using your subconscious to nudge you along in the game in the direction that will serve you to learn new lessons. So a lot of this game, the soul's journey, is about learning lessons, and you've been reincarnating through different bodies and different scripts in order to learn more lessons, to go on this journey and have a deeper experience. And certainly Source uses whatever your subconscious believes to nudge you along, whether that's Jesus or some various, Palladians or Arcturians or whatever, whatever entities you are aligning with, it uses that to get you to see the direction you should head in the game, to learn more lessons and experiences, because that's the whole reason we're here, is to experience and to for our soul to learn new lessons over and over again, and lessons that we haven't fully learned yet through the various incarnations that we've had in this game we call life.
So speaking to that point, are you a believer in past lives? Are you a believer in that concept that we've all had, that we've all been here before, that you can access past lives or things like that?
Yes, absolutely. And past lives are actually, because time doesn't really exist, so that's a manifestation of the mind. Past lives are actually happening in any given moment, right? So yes, you can tap into that, but by tapping into that, you're really tapping into something that's other than you, right? So you're externalizing your energy because you believe that knowing more about your past lives are somehow going to help you in your current life. And that's a false belief, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it's in the Akashic record. You can see all those lives, but the reason you went through them and the reason that you're in this script now is, so going back and look at the other ones aren't going to help you in the current game that you're in. It's just going to be a distraction and actually, take away your energy from what you're doing now. So.
I had a mushroom trip once. I've had many mushroom trips, but on one particular mushroom trip, I should say, I was speaking with the mushroom spirit about past lives. I was curious. I was asking, what's the deal? And the mushroom spirit was like, well, a lot of people, because I have a lot of friends who will go on and on about their past life experiences. And like, oh my gosh, in a past life, I just had this crazy download. Past life, this and that, the other thing happened to me. Wow, mind blown. So I was contemplating this with the mushrooms. I was thinking and the mushroom spirit was like, a lot of those past lives stories that people get, they would make great movies and great books in this world. And because I've had some crazy past life sort of things that I've experienced too. And mushroom spirit was like, what if you didn't even worry about if it was actually a past life or not, and instead just turn that past life experience into a great novel and gave that to the world? And then
I'd say that probably a lot of authors have done that, right?
Yeah,
that's what those stories are.
I feel like a lot of time, I guess to bring this kind of back to what we were talking about before, a lot of times people get lost in these cycles. I'm sure you see it too. People get lost down these rabbit holes of synchronicity and pursuing paranormal phenomena, because a part of investigating paranormal shit is synchronicity. And
and it's interesting to us, right?
Yeah.
In various ways, it's interesting to kind of go down those holes and tap into those mysteries that we don't fully know.
And as soon as you do, the world starts to shift and it starts to kind of warp a little bit. That's been my experience, and a lot of other people I talk to have experienced the same. But if we're talking about manifesting opportunities or creating more opportunities for yourself, then I think that's kind of where a lot of those things are meant to take us. If we're talking about where is all of this going, I think a lot of it is meant to be I guess what I'm to give a story of my life. I was having a lot of crazy synchronicities and magical meetings and, meeting people that I connected with like never before. And it seemed like we have this joint mission and stuff like that. And we've gone on crazy magical adventures all over the place, and it's been amazing. But the real takeaway was the friendship, the thing we built along the way, not necessarily where we were going. You know what I mean? I guess, am I making sense?
Yeah, it's the journey, not the destination.
Right.
And in that process, you're experiencing, and hopefully you're in an experience that you're enjoying if you're resonating at a higher frequency, right? So, the key is where's your frequency? Because if it's low and in that animalistic state, then you're going to experience nightmarish type experiences both in the physical world, or if you're dreaming, or that's the beauty, is like it's really it's really a simple thing. If you can understand the power of energy, vibration, and frequency, and just know that, like, hey, when I see something I don't really like, it makes me feel bad, it's because I'm not in the right frequency. I need to raise my frequency, and I need to look for ways to shift my energy and start changing my behavior so that I can raise my frequency, so that you can have those amazing experiences that build friendships and, tap into places that you've never tapped into before, to see that magic, become a reality in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're raising that frequency, it's almost like we're radio towers. Like you and me, we're emitting a pulse of vibration at all times.
We are,
and that is what
your aura. Mm-hmm.
What do you say?
The aura, your aura. Mm-hmm.
And I'm still trying to, still learning about how exactly that works. I think that we all are, in a sense. Like, have you heard of superfluid vacuum theory?
No, I haven't.
It's the idea that everything is water. It's the idea that all of reality is some form of vapor of sorts. Mm-hmm. Basically a water with a viscosity level of 0. In other words, it's totally invisible, untraceable water, but it's water nonetheless. And the idea is that is kind of how, that's why the idea of a wavelength going out from you, that's why it has an impact. In the same way that if you drop a stone into a pool, ripples go out and there's an effect. That's what you're doing with your mind and yourself at all times. And the reason it has an impact, like if we're looking for like why does that frequency do anything to your reality? Maybe it's because it's all water, so then it actually shifts reality to some degree. But again, I'm still this is what superfluid vacuum theory is a very fringe quantum physics theory. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense, but
yeah, it totally makes sense. I think that the more sort of thing that people can get their arms around is like the double slit experiment, where when they use a camera to watch what happens to the particles when they pass through a certain light frame, it's completely different from when a human is actually looking at it. And what that tells you is that the consciousness is affecting the reality. So based on your frequency and the way you see something, people at different frequencies will see they'll have a different perspective on the same exact thing, right? And it's because of the frequency you're on. So I think to your point of, this wild quantum stuff, it's just knowing that, and that's the beauty of like being able to know that you have full control over it. It's all within you because you're, as within, so without. You're projecting, you are a projector. That's what the third eye is. It's, if you look into what the third eye is in the pineal gland, it has cones and rods just like your two eyes, right? So, but it's the projector of your frequency to the external world, so that the game looks real and it's giving you back what you're giving out, right? And that is exactly what you're talking about. And absolutely, I mean, the air is nothing more than water that's just, in a lesser density than the actual water that's in the ocean. That's all it is, right? So every time you take a breath in, you're actually hydrating the body. Nobody's going to tell you that. I don't know why, they don't tell you that in the books, but every time you take a breath, you're drinking water. You just don't even know it, So yeah, absolutely. I would say that, everything is water basically to some degree or another.
And it's wild because it's almost like science is now validating stuff that mystics and esoteric philosophers have been saying for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I mean, the Hindus have been saying this for God knows how long. They've been saying the universe is consciousness vibrating. And they teach that Shiva is up there in the cosmos chanting Om at all times to keep everything going. And now, personally, I believe that what they're really saying, that's really a metaphor for what's actually going on, which I think is similar to what we're describing. But that's kind of the how the science, and we're seeing science and religion blend together. We're saying, oh, that's what the Hindus might have been talking about. Maybe that everything is conscious, that it's all one vibration. And if Shiva is up there in the cosmos, maybe he's keeping it all going. Thanks, Shiva. But really, he's, an archetype or an idea, a metaphor.
Yeah, and all of that is all of these religious characters and things. They're all descriptions of ourselves within us. And in many cases, even within the Bible, a lot of the Bible, which is really a copy of the Sumerian tablets. So, you should look further back a few thousand years before you get too caught up on the Bible. But the Bible's largely talking about the process of raising the chrism oil, the Christ within you, up to the land of, milk and honey, which is in the brain, that pineal gland and hypothalamus, I think. So, a lot of this is a process of being Christed. That's what the Bible's talking about when it talks about all these real stories that happen in Israel and all this stuff. A lot of that is just talking about how the body works. Jesus died at 33. You have 33 vertebrae in your back, right? Like, masonry uses 33 degrees of masonry. Like, all this stuff is an externalization of what's already within you. Same with the cell phone. Like, this is an externalization of actually how your body already works and communicates with others.
Yeah.
We've just accepted these stupider versions of it because we forgot that we are an antenna, we are a radio, we are a communication device. We currently use words and different languages, but we don't even need that. We should be using vibration. That's how you truly communicate with others. But that's been taken from us. We have to go back and figure out how all that works and use telepathy and those types of tools. But yeah, a lot of those scriptures and those types of characters are simply talking about how different parts of your body and the way the machine you were given works, the bio machine you were given works, and being able to use your frequency and your vibration to communicate and operate in this game. And basically, raise your energy levels to where you get out of this dualistic experience that we've been in for so long, where you see things separate from you, and you get to that place where we're in oneness, we're in unity, because you've raised the chrism oil inside the body and you've done the things you need to open up the crown and experience, paradise, heaven on earth, right? That's really what this is about. And we're, as a collective, we're being forced down that road right now. With this purging and all this stuff is happening, and the reality is simply a process of helping the collective who hasn't figured out how to do it on their own, and forcing them through it, because Earth is raising its own frequency, and where we're going, you can't hold on to that negative separation-based frequency. So we're being a lot of humanity that didn't go down the rabbit holes and start to unravel this onion within us. They're being forced to do that right now. And for some it's painful, for some it's beautiful. We're seeing them start to really step into their own gnosis and seeing the reality for what it is, and that a lot of what they believe is false. And they're dealing with that, and they're coming to realization on it. They're coming, stepping into and saying, what, I was responsible at some level for this. There were choices I made that weren't really what I was in alignment with, but I thought I had to make them, but now I'm realizing I didn't, and I want to make it better. Right.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful process. But it's tough. It's not easy. It's tough. Yeah.
No, it's not easy. It certainly is more of an initiation and that's how it's meant to be. But that's how it's been. That's how it's always been, is that it's always meant to be an initiation. This idea of clearing karma. This is the idea of initiation is something that is preserved in a lot of the esoteric traditions, whether it's Hermeticism or Masonry or a lot of them. This idea that, a new initiate who is coming into this awareness and being taught the secrets of the universe, that first they will be made worthy by the spirit world to receive that information. The idea being that, like, someone will not even encounter certain types of information until they have achieved a certain level, a certain have passed certain tests. And really what it is, if you look into the ideas of initiation, it's clearing past karma. It's all of your old karma from the past coming back all at once, so you can deal with it all at once, and then you can be reborn. As in the phoenix metaphor, you can experience a complete rebirth with a new soul contract. You're no longer burdened by the karma from your past. That all is taken care of, and now you're writing a new story.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because sin and karma is a program in this game. It's not actually real. So you can do some self-hypnosis and just get rid of it, like you said, just like that, in like 45 minutes. I have one that I use with my clients and others that I'd be happy to share with your folks too.
Please.
To use a process to basically remove this idea of sin and karma. It doesn't exist. It's all energy, frequency, and vibration. There's no good or bad. And I know that, a lot of people, what are you talking about? That's not morally right and all that. We're talking about this idea of separation. Oh, what I did was bad and what they did was good. That's the same pole. And you're just, when does cold get hot and when does hot get cold? It doesn't exist, right? It's all perspective, right? So it's all about the intention. What was your intention when you took that action? Was the intention good? Was the intention positive, I should say, right? Or was the intention negative? Was that intention in separation, or was that intention in oneness? And that really will help you make better decisions that keep you out of this idea of, well, this was good and that's bad, or good or evil and all that. That's all a part of how you get trapped in this game. Neutrality is where you need to be. You can use emotion of love and compassion and forgiveness. And we talked about that, and gratitude and appreciation. That's going to raise your frequency, but I'm not attached to those emotions. I'm not attached to anything. I try and stay in neutrality. I try and stay as the observer. And I try and, stay in that abundance that's in neutrality, right? I'm in the center of the pole, right? I'm not, I might move around a little bit, right? But I'm not swinging to, oh, I'm this and I'm wearing this label and I'm on that side of the movement. I'm just observing the script that's playing out, And when you stay in that mode, then you can stay in that higher resonance, and actually, like all this stuff going on, very little has changed for me. I have my clients, they're crushing it right now. I mean, I don't know, how that played out in the reality. Maybe it's because I've stayed at a higher resonance that I attracted clients that, for whatever reason, because of how this thing is played out in the reality, their businesses are booming. And that's exciting for me. Like, very little has changed. I was going out, I work from home, so that didn't really change for me. Right. I'm still going out in the sun, and I'm still doing my yoga, and I'm still doing my own thing as I'm trying to get myself to Costa Rica with my wife. And, but, I just, it's really about, seeing that there's a lot of polarity, and that's what we're trying to get out of, is this idea of duality, the 3D reality, which is everybody kind of taking their side, and these are the good guys and the bad guys. That's why earlier when I said, hey, I love Bill Gates, he shows me every day who I am not. He's always showing me what I am not. So the more I see him, I'm reminded of who I am. And that who I am is beautiful, and I'm in that resonance. He's showing me who he is, and I know that I am not that. It's a reflection to remind me of who I am not, right? And I also see him. I forgive him. I know that he's just a scared child that has reflected his the things that he's manufactured in the physical world, that he's manifested in the physical world. He's using that to then prop himself up so that he can push his agenda, which somehow is an externalization because he somehow doesn't feel good inside of himself. So he wants to harm others because he thinks others are separate from him. And I forgive him for that.
It's so easy to forget that we are one. It's so easy to get caught in your own ego. Most people stay there. A lot of people live there their entire lives, and they never have these transcendent experiences.
Yeah, no, and I want to touch on that because
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people in the spiritual world or whatever, they're like, yeah, you got to ego death, you got to kill the ego and all that. And that's not, you need to know that the ego and the subconscious beliefs were really there to protect you in the game. The problem is we were never meant to actually live out our entire lives with the script we were given. We were given a script so that we could move forward in this game when we came in, right? You had your parents, you were born at this town at this time during this, year and all that stuff. That's a part of your script. And then all these things that happened, these things are just a part of the script. They were going to play out whether you realized you were, a fractal of source in a vessel, going through these motions, trying to have this soul experience. And the ego was there to keep you out of trouble, really. Like, hey, we want to give you experience, but we don't want you to end up being, in the depths of hell and not knowing how you even got there. The ego was there to sort of protect you. And so now we can say, okay, if we're stepping into our uniqueness and our power and we're saying, okay, I'm going to take responsibility for my choices. I'm going to start to live my life in cause instead of someone else's effect. And I appreciate what the ego's done for me. It protected me and it allowed me to get to this point in my journey. And there's a process of where you have to keep kind of telling your ego, like, no, I'm good now. I'm stepping into conscious awareness. I'm in my heart space and I take responsibility for my choices. I don't need you to continue to be my parent and keep me making the choices from my subconscious. I'm unraveling that. I'm doing shadow work and I'm unraveling that subconscious beliefs and I'm stepping into knowing. I don't need to believe anymore. I need to know it for myself. And as I do that, the ego will say, okay, cool. I'll let off the gas because, I've been doing this for so long. Me and the subconscious have been there to protect you, that I'm going to always be there for you. Just let me know if I need to step in and project out, what you used to think. I'm happy to do that for you.
Yeah.
And seeing it as it was a tool that protected you, and now you don't need it to protect you anymore. And that's okay. Like, instead of this idea of like, kill the ego death, do your shadow work and get rid of the ego. Well, the ego also helps in manifesting, right? Like, I could be at a very high resonance and just sit and meditate all day long because the external world has, relatively little meaning to me. But where it has meaning to me is when I can, like you said, help others. I need the ego in some cases to position myself for those that aren't yet where I'm at to see, like, hey, a lot of my clients in testimonial videos and stuff, they'll say, he lives the lifestyle I want to live. So that's why I buy his stuff and I'm in his coaching program and all that kind of stuff. So my ego has to be there to kind of project that into the 3D reality of like, hey, yeah, that I'm attracted by these others that I know that I can help. And that's just a doorway. Business and coaching and these things that I do is a doorway that I have that I can open with folks to get them to a place where now we can talk about how do we unravel that subconscious belief? How do we get you into a state of knowing so you can step into your true power and uniqueness and really start manifesting what you want in your life? And a part of that was me projecting an ego of myself that attracted them to the doorway that can help them, so that I can guide them to the next step in their life, right?
You're hitting on something huge, and I want to dive into this a little more. It's that, and I love what you're saying. It's the idea that this ego is still you. You can't just deny it altogether. It's still Justin. And the ego, no one's going to take you seriously. None of your clients are going to listen to you if you haven't had some measure of success in the material world. If you're out of shape and broke as shit and you just sit around smoking cigarettes all day, but you're preaching the exact same stuff you're talking about here, no one's going to listen because they're going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to do the opposite because I don't want to be like Justin. If Justin believes in all this crazy shit, guess I'm going to go listen to something else, So yeah, it's a measure of credibility. It's the idea that, imagine if Elon Musk got on stage and he started talking about how, the Kybalion is the book that changed everything for him, or how, or how he had an ayahuasca trip that changed everything for him, and that's where he got the idea for SpaceX or something. Everyone in the world would get on Twitter and be like, "Holy shit! Did you hear what Elon Musk said? He's into the law of attraction, or he's into mushrooms. Oh my god!" Just because of something Elon Musk said, because he's had that level of material success in the world. And whether or not you glorify Elon Musk is one thing. I'm just using him as an example.
Sure.
But that idea that if you gain that level of credibility, people will listen to you. So if you really care about something, if you're really passionate about something, you owe it to yourself to have that level of success, because because you owe it to yourself to be taken seriously, I guess is what I'm getting at. If you're really passionate about something, it's not a requirement necessarily, but if you're trying to do something that involves a mass shift in collective belief, you have to be the example. You got to be the leader in your own life.
That's it. Yeah. You have to, be the change be the change you want to see in the world, right? You got to just go down the road yourself. My point is that, love your ego, because you'll dissolve it faster by loving it than you would to be like, yeah, I'm going to kill the ego. I'm trying to kill my ego. Like, no, I love the ego. It protected me. It helped me get where I'm at right now, which is a beautiful thing. Yeah. It doesn't serve me now. I don't need it now. I see things differently, but it's always there if I ever need it.
I'll think as we shift more into oneness or unity consciousness, and that becomes something that's a bit more mainstream over the years to come, the ego will become the weeks to come, or whatever it might be. The ego will become even more important, because then that is how we're maintaining your individuality and still practicing your free will. Because then I believe the ultimate purpose of the ego is to be transmuted, not to be destroyed like you're saying, but to be transmuted into its purest state, where now your ego is your higher self, or whatever you want to call it. The ego is your highest version of yourself, because and it's the thing that sets you apart from everyone else, to make you beautiful, from a perspective of, this is what Justin has to contribute to the world, other than everyone else. And
yeah, I see it as, when you're in the lower frequencies, it's there to serve you and to keep you out of trouble. And as you raise your frequency, the ego is just an old tool that you no longer use, right? You have new tools because you're stepping into your true uniqueness and power. And that's where the real magic is, that the ego just no longer serves a role at that higher frequency. It served a role in the lower frequencies. And that's kind of how I see it. The uniqueness and power is in the heart space, that uniqueness and power that you were given in the script through this vessel. That is the abundant, limitless, ability to manifest anything that you can put your focus on. And it's the ego that is attached to the world of separation, that was just there to protect you in a very dualistic energy. And it's a tool that once you kind of raise your frequency and you see that everything actually is you in the reality, and then you start accepting that reality, and like you said, you start surrendering into that energy, and you start doing the work to focus on yourself, because yourself, you can never really help someone at the level that you want to until you first help yourself, right? So you need to be selfish first before you can be selfless. Otherwise, you're just helping other people. Might be your children, might be friends, colleagues, clients, and it's not the best version of you, because you're not putting yourself first. And so a lot of times the ego will play a role there, and because you're not putting yourself first and doing the work, it's there to kind of be that bridge, because you haven't done the work yourself.
I love that. That's a powerful way to put that. That gave me that gave me a lot to think about.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a process, right? But I think I just want to make that clear that the ego is not your enemy. It's a tool that you've used for a very long time to serve you in a very dualistic realm. And we're moving more less into that energy when you want to. Duality's still here. It's still here to stay if you want to stay in those frequencies. But as you start to raise your frequency, retune your radio, turn the knob, right? And align with a new station. And that new station is unity and oneness, and everything I see outside of me is me in some form or fashion. It's another fractal of source. And so everything is me. So I'm going to treat everything else like I would want to be treated. And then that's when this powerful ease and flow loop of abundance comes back to you. And you see everything and you say, hey, the energy coming at me on this one thing, it doesn't feel good. But you know what? I love that because it's showing me something about myself. And that's okay. And that's beautiful, actually. And you see that like for folks that sometimes mushrooms tend to be a little bit more mild than ayahuasca, where they go through this purging process and they even vomit, and all these negative energies come out of you because it's a part of that process of showing you what you're holding on to in your subconscious, and your body physically purges and vomits out that energy. And the sooner you can, and then what happens almost immediately after that sort of purging, vomiting process that you might experience with mushrooms or ayahuasca or some other types of plant medicines is that you immediately feel this bliss come over you because you finally got this negative energy. It doesn't serve you out of you. And you're, that was driving your life in some way and you didn't even realize it in most cases. And so there's this sort of like roller coaster of bliss and like, holy shit, I had to feel that emotion once again. And I finally got it out of myself. That's really the power of this process is like, I can release that. And when I do, life just looks completely different,
Yep. One of the most powerful experiences of my life was taking some ayahuasca, and we hiked 2 miles into a cave.
Wow.
And it was there was mud up to our waist.
Oh, wow.
So we drank a little bit. We had a little dose of ayahuasca before going in. And then hiked about 2 miles to the back of this cave, ice cold. It was cold as balls. There was only like 8 crazy people doing this. And then we had the real dose at the back of the cave, and then we just sat and meditated for however long at the bottom of the world. And I just had all these childhood stuff start coming up like crazy. And I started just puking my guts out at the bottom of the world is what it felt like. And I was shivering like crazy too. I was just shivering. And this is what I tell people about ayahuasca. I've done it 6 times now, is the puking or shivering or whatever is directly correlated with whatever it is you're thinking about or processing or whatever. It's not just random. It's not just like maybe it is a little bit, but that's how it has been for me. It's like, it's
directly attached.
Yeah, it's very clear what it is you're puking up. You're like, oh man, let's puke up that memory. Let's get up this memory. And every time that's ever happened to me, ayahuasca spirit would come before the big puking session begins and say, are you ready? Are you ready to heal? Are you ready to release? And I'll say, yes, I'm ready. Let's do this. And then, and then it starts, But man, that was crazy. So I resonate a lot with that for sure. And I would encourage.
That's kind of the fast forward process, using plant medicine to get through it. Whereas, in everyday life, we're now in that phase of like, this is purgatory, where we're actually being forced to remove those energies that no longer serve us, because where we're going in 5D New Earth frequency, it cannot support the old 3D separation based frequencies. And so it's, everybody's being forced to face a lot in their life. And some of that is being what's happening in the external world on an individual level for each person is based on their own frequency, and it's giving them scenarios, whether it's you lost your job, you lost your business, or you've been furloughed, or all these things. Those happen to you because the game itself is saying you've got to deal with your own stuff now, and we're going to keep giving you these scenarios until you deal with it. If you still choose to not deal with it, then you're gonna live out you're gonna stay in that 3D frequency, right? There's two trains, and they're being split right now, and it's a choice you have to make. Am I going to choose to take responsibility for my choices and accept and forgive myself and others for maybe what happened in the past? Because the past doesn't exist, nor does the future. It's only the now day, really. Mm-hmm. Right. So the sooner we can step into that resonance, the sooner we're going to be on this train to 5D New Earth, which is a beautiful paradise where none of this separation stuff will ever play out again, because we've learned our lesson. For those that still haven't learned our lesson, the Bill Gates of the world, and there are lots of different variations of that playing out, they're going to be on the old train, and they're going to have to learn their lessons. And this idea of like seeing a zombie apocalypse and all this stuff play out, it will play out for you. You're going to live out the effects of your causes. And if you choose, even after all this nudgery to get it dealt with right now, if you still choose to stay in those lower frequencies, then your soul just needs to go on a different journey. It's not going to go on the journey of New Earth and realizing that you can manifest within seconds and, the beauty that comes with those higher frequencies. It's not a punishment. It's simply a part of that soul's journey. If you can't reach a certain frequency, even with all this stuff going on and realizing that it's about you and everything's internally and it reflects out, if you can't step into that and start to work on that, then very soon you'll just have to stay in the old 3D reality, frequency in the game that's playing out on that plane of existence. And you'll continue to play out that reality, but you'll have to begin to face all of the effects of your own causes.
And man, I'm stoked to see what happens, but I'm also terrified. You know what I mean? Like I'm stoked for me, but I feel like the world is in for a lot of awakening, more so than we're experiencing now. I think now is almost like a preview of just what's going to be coming here in the next couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years, whatever that might look like. But I know we got to wrap this up real quick pretty soon. We've been talking for a minute, but you've talked a lot about different disclosures, different things that have been coming out, people have been finding. What have been some of these things? Like if someone's listening to this for the first time, let's say they've been living under, let's say someone's hasn't really connected with, that sort of stuff. Maybe they've just been listening to the mainstream story, sure, but they're obviously an hour in on our conversation. Like what sorts of things should they be paying attention to right now related to, the coronavirus, this kind of shift towards a new reality? What are some sources they should be looking at, or different stories, or what should they be looking into, I guess is what I'm saying.
It's a great question. I think there's some great mainstream stuff that no matter where you're at on the frequency plane, you're going to be able to see it and be like, because this is even happening with my own family members who, it's taken some time for them to kind of step out of the 3D realm to see it at a higher dimension. Out of Shadows was a great, you can go on YouTube, the documentary, it's called Out of Shadows. I would highly recommend you watch that. There's another one that just came out. It's about 30 minutes long, called Plandemic, which is really well done. And so all these little documentaries are coming out from people that really were in Hollywood and, know a lot about this stuff and know what's been playing out with this virus and all that at a very deep level. And now they're having an opportunity to sort of bring it into light, whereas before they might even put their life in danger by bringing this information to light. And this is a part of the process where a lot of this stuff where, things like documentaries and things that aren't on the traditional channels, they're not on Netflix, they're not on the, where you would normally find them. You have to go on YouTube and other channels, even BitChute, which is another platform that's, even YouTube is banning a lot of the truth.
I know, it's crazy. Like the David Icke interview was a big one for me, seeing that get taken down.
Well, he's gone altogether. They took him off everything, Twitter.
That's crazy.
Facebook, YouTube, and yeah. So I mean, a lot of that's going on. So there's platforms like BitChute that don't, censor. But yeah, I think a good place to start is the documentary Out of Shadows, which is really well done, and Plandemic, which is another great one too.
And I mean, honestly, there's also just so many clues just within the mainstream story of the stuff that we're being told. Like, for example, if you look at the CDC numbers of deaths reported from coronavirus, it was 67,000 or something like that reported dead. And then just a few days ago, it just shifted down to like 32,000 confirmed dead. And of course they were like, oh, it's because we've gotten more reporting around the number. Yeah. We've gotten better reporting and this, that, the other thing. And it's like, man,
they're showing you how ridiculous and stupid the whole thing is. I mean,
yeah, it's like literally less than half of the people that you said died from coronavirus actually died, allegedly. And
yeah, then you roll it back even more and you realize the CDC is actually a private company.
Right.
It's not even a part of the government. Even though they have a .gov or whatever, it's all shenanigans.
I mean, our whole government, it's a conversation for another day, but our whole government is essentially a private corporation owned by the Federal Reserve, this, that, the other thing. Exactly. And that's what people are waking up to. That's what they're starting to see. People are going down these rabbit holes because they got time, because they're stuck at home. And that's the thing about YouTube.
And they're resonating now. They're finally stopped saying oh, a conspiracy theory. The term conspiracy theory was created by the CIA to make anybody sound stupid that brought up the truth.
That is true. That is indeed a true fact.
So everybody is starting to realize maybe they weren't so crazy after all,
Yeah. Man.
Reality is crazier than, this is the greatest movie you've ever watched playing out.
It really is, man. And we're writing it one day at a time. But we got to wrap this up, Justin. This has been a hell of a conversation. Thank you so much, man. Is there anything you want to promote or anything you want to talk about before?
Well, I mean, I'd love to. In the coming days, I'm going to be launching my free business acceleration secrets masterclass. So it's a 4-part series where I'm going to show you exactly how I take clients from 6 figures to 7 figures, 7 figures to 8 figures within 16 to 24 months. It's a system, business acceleration life cycle that I built, and I'm finally getting an opportunity to share it with the world. So you can go to secrets.8020business.com and get registered for that. And I'll be promoting that. You'll probably see lots of Facebook ads and stuff going out from various partners of mine on that. So that's what I'm excited about. And I'm excited about helping people kind of get through this period, because it's very transitional, but like we talked about from the beginning, there's clearly a resonance of opportunity, and I want to make sure that people can see how easy it is to create abundance in their life through business.
I love it, man. Well, hey, send me the link and I'll put it down below. So if you're listening to this or watching this, go click the link down below and you can check it out. Justin.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, dude. Of course. All Justin, right. You're the man. Soon. Appreciate it.